In Lesson 2.2, we are going to learn how to find areas of rectangles. You will need your whiteboard marker, and an eraser. So each time you go to watch a math video, make sure you have your whiteboard. Also make sure you have your math journal, as in most days we will need them during the lesson. So like always, we are going to go ahead and warm up. We are going to be using lots of multiplication this unit, so please make sure you are practicing those multiplication facts. So for numbers 1, 2, and 3, I would like you to write the answer or the product of 6 times 5, 7 times 3, and 8 times 3. Remember to pause the video, write your answers, and then resume it. 6 times 5 is 30. 7 times 3 is 21, and the product of 8 and 3 is 24. Go ahead and erase your whiteboard and number 1 to 3 again. Again, please write down the answers only. If you haven't mastered your multiplication facts and you're still working on them, remember you have a multiplication chart up through 12s in your Everyday Math Game Mats folder. Go ahead, write down the answers, pause the video. 6 times 7 is 42, 9 times 8 is 72, and 8 times 6 is 48. Go ahead and wipe off your whiteboard. And the last set of multiplication problems. Here you have extended facts. So remember, just figure out what the basic fact is, the fact family, and then you can add your zeros on. Answers only, go ahead. Number 1, 3 times 9 is 27, and then 1 0 behind. The product is 270. 9 times 9 is 81. Add 2 zeros on the end, and the product is 8,100. 6 times 5 is 30. Then you add on 2 zeros after the 30 to get 3,000. In today's lesson, we're going to work on finding the area of a rectangle. So in this rectangle on the right, I'm going to find the perimeter. I'm going to use a ruler and use centimeters. I will show you how to do it. This is not in your math journal, not yet. So I went ahead and measured the size of the sides of the rectangle. The length of the top is 4 centimeters. I also know that opposite sides on a rectangle are the same length, so this would be 4 centimeters. The left side of the rectangle is 5 centimeters. That means the opposite side would also be the same length of 5 centimeters. If I'm going to find the perimeter, I would go ahead and add all of the sides. So the equation would be 4 plus 4 plus 5 plus 5. 4 and 4 is 8. 5 and 5 is 10. If I add those two together, I get 18. The perimeter is 18. Why would I want to know perimeter? Well, perimeter, if I were going to put up a fence around my garden or for my dog, I would go ahead and I would add up those sides. If I were going to put up a border, let's say, of flowers in my kitchen, and I was going to put it along the top walls of each of my 4 walls of my kitchen, then I would need to know perimeter. The other thing we're going to learn, well, you just got to hear what it sounds like for a teacher to have someone Zoom her. Anyway, if I were going to, let's say this is a square garden and I want to cover it now with sod, or I want to cover it with grass seed, and I want to find out how much I need to cover this whole space. That's what we call area, the amount of space inside of something. Or if I were going to paint, we painted my daughter's bedroom this weekend, and therefore we needed to know how much space we needed to cover for each wall. Area means that you take the length times the width, and that would be 20, what we call square centimeters or centimeters squared. So if I were going to lay sod for my new yard, I would now want to know the area. If I were painting a wall in my kitchen, I would want to know the area, the inside portion, how much I needed to cover. If I was getting new carpeting, I would want to know area. So today we're working on what's inside of a figure, and in this case, a rectangle. What is the difference between area and perimeter? Area is the amount of space inside a shape. You don't have to write this down. Perimeter is the distance around the outside of a figure. Might be a square, it might be a rectangle. So today we're going to really just work on area. So I can count the number of square units inside. So this is how many unit squares are there in one row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 of them. How many equal rows of squares are there? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 of them. How could we use an equation to write the total number of squares? I could count them. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. There's 30 of them, but when my shapes get larger, I don't want to count them every time. So we have an equation called finding the length, multiplying it by the width, and that gives you area. So this is my length. This is my width. And 5 times 6 is 30. So today, we're going to state a formula, or what we call a rule, for finding the area of a rectangle. And that is area, that's where the capital A comes from, equals length, which we abbreviate with a lowercase l, times the width. We use a lowercase w. This is the formula or the rule for figuring out area. I'm going to go ahead and move on past this screen, and I would like you to go ahead and work in your math journal. We are on page 37. On page 37, the directions say, finding the area of rectangles. Draw the rectangle with a length of 5 and a width of 8. So in your math journal, picking up your pencil, we're going to draw a length of 5. So count and draw with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the length of 5. Now I'm going to do a width of 8. Start here. When you get to the end of a length of a centimeter or a square, count 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now I have 2 sides. I have to go ahead and finish off the rest of this. Now I could count the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. I don't want to do that. That took way too much time. So I'm going to use the equation length times width. The length is 5 times the width is 8, and 8 times 5 is 40. And what we call this are square units. If you don't have your multiplication chart and do not have your facts memorized, you're going to want that chart near you for every lesson. The area is 40 square units. Go ahead and write that in your math journal. Number 2, using the grid below, draw a 6 by 6 rectangle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, drawing this with me. And a width of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we go ahead and complete that. We're going to count if we want to, but that takes way too much time. So we're going to use the equation length times width equals area. The length is 6, the width is 6, and 6 times 6 is 36 square units. You are filling this out in your math journal on page 37. It is 36 square units. Moving on to number 3. Sometimes you don't have all of those little squares drawn in there, and instead you just have a length and then you have a width. So the length is 5, fill this in. The width is 3, and the equation, remember, is length times width equals area. So 5 times 3, and this is where you need to know those multiplication facts. 5 times 3 is 15, and we call this square centimeters. We can abbreviate centimeters with cm, 15 square centimeters. Number 4, again, we do not have those individual little squares drawn, so we're going to take the length times the width. The length is 6 centimeters. The width is 4 centimeters. And we know the equation is length times width equals area. So the length is 6. The width is 4. And again, we need to know those facts. 6 times 4 is 24. We can write that square centimeters, or we have a little bit of an abbreviation. We can also write centimeters squared with this 2 that's raised up a little bit and written a little bit smaller. It means the same thing as square centimeters. Our area inside. Remember, area talks about everything inside of this rectangle. Number 5. Mrs. Mobassary wants to cover a board with fabric. The board is a rectangle that is 9 feet long and 5 feet high. There's a little bit of space in your journal to write this or draw this if you'd like. So this is another reason we might need area. We're going to cover a table with fabric or a tablecloth. It is 9 feet long. It is 5 feet high. My equation, I know that I'm going to take length times width equals area. So the length is 9. Filling this out with me in your math journal. Times the width is 5. And 9 times 5 is 45. I can write square feet. And the abbreviation for feet is FT. Or I can do feet squared. It means the same thing. The area is 45 square feet. You are now going to go back into your Schoology folder to see what you need to do for the rest of math.